Sanjay Shinto Nidhi Logo Nanda Shiva Shunga Dhammagurura Namadana Neva Tarina. Nadaran Shiva Maranzu. Gurung Sweta Swetavri, Inaya, Dati Paralaya, Parsintes Shabatunzanya, Yarto. And Nadaran Shiva Maranzu. Gurung Sweta Swetavri, Dati Paralaya, Parsintes Sharvas, Cheta Yang Yarto. And messenger Tamje Tongi said that the Watoya Shedo, and Tabichu Samuji singing, send the Yams living in some Gurung to teach Sunaromas.
This morning we have generated the correct motivation, the virtuous motivation in order to listen to the Dharma. However, in between we have taken a break. So now is the time to revive the motivation. By thinking that for the sake of all sentient beings, in order to overcome their sufferings completely and to present them with the ultimate happiness, now we are here to listen to the Dharma and however much Dharma listening that we can do, we will put into practice. Please generate the proper motivation as of now.
Ramaraja Tagishurva. And Maraja Miziti Rindo de Lochu Yubiana, or Rindo Tanya Mari. In a tomb Tanya de la Tapeji came Mambuji, Pache Mambuji, Yoris to Shuri. He in the Zamba that he candidate city Zamba, Chidamaranzo Lambrina Lolia, Lambrin subject to Senado Yumudwa, and a Sela number Meji, and a Garzi. Jimmy Paramacheva says you're kind. Sela number Jaya Mari, Serva Marazu, Mizidela, and a Sepa Rim to Tanya de Tafshidi Yomaris. Yima Inaya Marazu Sela Parche, you do Zamba Parche, the Pamero Sayagi.
Yes. So regarding a human life such as the one that we have now, there is a certain period of time. So before we taken the example, for example, a person who has the period to live, for example, a 10 years period. So this person has 10 years to live. As for 10 years to live, when he came to this world, he bring this 10 years merit. This cannot be prolonged. This was mentioned before, I explained before, this cannot be prolonged. But then, in order to shorten this 10 years period, there are a lot of obstacles that can happen. Then this is precisely the fact that we cannot prolong and only can be shortened. This is stated in the Lambrim itself, when it states that lifespan cannot be extended and shortens unceasingly. By the shortening of the lifespan, we said it's caused by obstacles. However, for the obstacles, there are methods that we can utilize in order to overcome obstacles.
The name of Zonza Maranzo, that the Varki Sewansia to Lita, Sevameki Sewansia, that was the name of Sewansia Mamushia, Sirim to Tayaki. That day, Jidan Sirim to Tayasia, the Aneta Vishubanashi, Chorchilla to the Neighbor Sunguduro. And that the Nigga Sewanshia, the Garis to Samba Maranzo, that say, Kan Yuba de la Parchema, which Yuba Sonza. parche pa domne ane koran serinduroyi ta dimado bede se tango yu tu dile pan jani ane doyayo mare se ta dundu sungero.
So among the methods to overcome the obstacles for a human life, a life such as the one that we have now, maybe it's the one that you've heard before. This is called the initiation, Waitara initiation, a long life initiation regard to the deity which is called Waitara, or a long life initiation regarding the deity called Amitayus. Maybe you heard about this, that there is a method such as this. And for these kinds of method, long life initiation, actually, in order to prolong the life, what is called in the long life initiation, this is exactly the way to do is the one what we say there is an obstacles. It's the obstacles that is shortening that we put method into overcome the obstacles. By overcoming the obstacles, then it is so-called long life. But actually, long life is not prolonging the life. The long life here means that overcoming the obstacles for shortening the life.
Yinba yinaya ta di kyunze zo de karri si shubi na chidang di sela wang ma tokyo se jiro rangwang ma tokyo maranzo ta nga lochu degi yin, nishu degi yin siya dende rangwang ma tokyo digi wang do chebari yis rangwang tok sabi yina ta se ringdu tanya ge tabshe yore se tungru tanya ge tabshe yore sama yue deba jigri do.
So regarding this nature of the life that we have now, we come into this life, we bring a certain period determined by the karma or the merit, but we come in the state which is called unfree, because we do not have the freedom to determine how long we can live. There is no way we can say now to determine, oh, I want to live 10 years, I would like to live 20 years. We come with the state that is unfree. By the time that we have already achieved the state of freedom to determine, then by that time we can say, oh, I can prolong my time, my lifetime, however much longer that I would like to prolong. Then I could even shorten my lifetime, however much time I need to shorten it. But now, as we come here with the life that we have with the years and age, it is unfree.
제상 루비니기 모바 제나로리아 가르순 요리스나 제다 자종바 들려요. 자종바 셀라 왕토바 뜻. 자종바 셀라 왕토바 뜻. 하나 간데나고 요리스나 코랑게 다 심진라 펜바 산게기 템발라 펜바 망고 두투위 요리나 세바로 링도 당야게 답시나고 요리스도. 다 지금 수수문에게 답에 세디 안에 로직만도 쉬야게 세디 맵이나야 아나베 로주조 바 쉬야게 답시되 나고 요리스. 새로 왕토 타러. 대가리에서도 좀 코란나 빼나 룸주 그 선남지 여러. 말한도 진바당 와라서 그 들려 선남지 여러. 들려 선남데 바 교네 세림부 반도야고 바 답시도 주나고 요리스무도. 이 새로 왕토나 들려요. 다 대장면 어디지 숨게.
And for this, Acharya Vasubandhu explained in the Abhidharma, for the higher practitioners, the one who achieved the Arhat, who became an Arhat, they have the ability to prolong their life. The reason for prolonging one's life, for example, when one thinks that he will be able to bring benefit for sentient beings, for other sentient beings. Another reason to prolong one lifetime, for example, it will be benefit for the teachings of the Buddha Dharma. So for these kind of reasons, it is necessary to prolong one's life. So say like for higher practitioners achieving Arhat, for example, if this person, this being has 1 year to live, then he can prolong it to say like to prolong to be another 10 years to live, because he's already achieved the power in order to prolong the life. And there is one method to prolong the life, which is when someone who has a great merit that is accumulated from the practice of generosity. So from the practice of generosity, we will gain a lot of material possessions. And this material possession is a merit that can be converted into long life.
야 가르시오래다 거라 구지 림부 슈비나 심진라 펜도 매바 하나 상계지 때말에 셔라 펜도 매 요직 들려 임베이나 다 거라 세통을 다 말이다 다 거라 안에베 공로대 배제를 로주 니슈들을 쉬야게다 소남지 여러 소남대 수 교르네 롱절을 교르고요다 롱절이 교제 안에 시엔라 짐바 따야다 워들을 내는 거 요리스도
As for the other way around, suppose these high practitioners thinks that, oh, maybe the situation is not possible to bring any benefit to other sentient beings. Also, the life that he has doesn't bring anything worthwhile for the preservation of the Buddha Dharma's teaching. So perhaps he can shorten the life. So for example, a high practitioner in the state of Arhat, this person, this being has another 10 to 20 years to live. So 10 to 20 years to live is a merit. The merit equals to 20 years to live. But then the 20 years of life can be in turn converted into material possessions, and he can utilize these material possessions in turn to practice generosity.
와든데레 제자 셀라 왕토고이나 다들이 모여서라 베레 차샤비나 산제 좀 내데들어와 단다 가르사 벤제로산 최jen기 라마 최베 나라리아 도지고라 기치 민가야 송조오미 개고 사마도 다자메베 지시 시데바 냐메메다 다바 슈수스에서 지 시지요 이때나데 가르에서도 담아 안에 산제 좀 내데다고데 도지고라 왕예버리에서 도지구라 많이 말했어. 도지구. 도지구라 왕 세거래 말을 예배이나 현은 지야르게 요마네. 도시나제 만도 도시세페 차보지기로. 어디나시. 이나야 산제 좀 내데 공부 잡지만도 쉬요 말어. 어디 가르쳐버렸을 때 잠만 메마 산제 좀 내데 안에 이마 분야멜에 대야게 깔려야 안에 이 공부를 열어 봐. 그런 기루 공부를 세지와. 공가를 어두 쉬리자 공가를 다 양절 쉬루지세 안에 이 쉬요 말세 가르세나 뒤기 진질라면로 무티파시고라 뒤여로
마라
마라되기 진질랍제 콘트에요 말이 양절배 구지를 뭐 쉬루지세야디 쟁여 말이 다디 텐데디 노레스로 텐데디 주자네 공로 잡지마도 쉬요 말이 찍리 니바데 거랑 미답을 수있대요. 미답을 수 거랑 원래 제비나 도지 꾸니 사례 꾸지린 것까지 쉬네 쉬쳐야겠다. 라와 상마 요리데 이나야 공로 잡지마도 마셔야 돼. 말하면서 미답을 말하면서 깨차비 제려야 상마 시구레스전에다디 미답을 수있대 말해서 뒤숨을.
Dilama sebajik yang ger sungge de tonda doktor dikande.
도지 꾸라 깨지 민가야 서로 공그 꾸려야다. 도지 꾸세야 되냐버다. 유아메바 때 링고 차고 때나 맞아이나 때 로카시데 시도로 로데라와 유아마리 카디시미시라와 유아마리 코란 데마이 봐. 때 로자다 동다 가세 슈비에네 슈야게 디 왕르데 토브리다. 단다디.
Loso. As for the power to control one's life, this is exactly what is also the Buddha, of course, has this power to control his own life. There is one verse within the Lama Chopa or the Guru Puja, which states that the Buddha himself has achieved a Vajra body, which is unchanging. The Vajra body which is stable and unchanging, which is immortal, because it has the qualities such as Vajra. This is the qualities of the Buddha's body. However, according to the biography of the Buddha, we know that the Buddhas live up to the age of 81. And by the biography of the Buddha, we also know there are several reasons for this during at the time of the parinirvana of the Buddha. The first one is when the Ananda, Kungawa, Ananda is said to miss the opportunity or to forget to request for the Buddhas to have a long life. And the reason for Ananda for forgetting the request is because of the Mara. due to the influence of the Mara, then Anandas forget to say the request, to convey the request for the Buddhas to live long. That's one reason. The other reason is because by the time the Buddha showing his passing away, his Maha Parinirvana, actually this is a great lesson, which is called the lesson on impermanence. The reason why the Buddha passed away is, as we know, is a Dharma itself is a teaching about impermanence.
새로 왕 토비에나다 dundu 왕 마토비에나 다디 슈거나시 되려와 다 이마에나야 릭징라 dundu 용무여서라 때리 차샤비에나 안에 그랑 안다 고불루두로 고불루두 당고 디지디 잠 니메 뒤나마도 슈야게 디 요마레세 dundu 중으로와 안에 아마디게 답에지 셈바교네 다 요마데라 안에 부부디 로딩이 가서 니마 등기 제일 시기인 바 손자 신나기 봐 안에 얘가 당레스 안에 대담에 전에다 신나기는 답에 당son 세나다베주 공작이 다 들려기 내줘봐 첨부 들려지 두제 안에 요모디 시우지 무이대에서라 부부디 신이 막 안에 가르쳐서 세디 잡아 내주 어디 상만 당선되려야 쉬디 잡아 안에 당선되기다 셈려야 말이지 시기 말을 마시야 탑 말라 유에스는 안에 로 뒤시기 말이시니 안에 거랑 뒤 담아주는 로 뒤시요 말이 로 뒤기 제일 양자를 연주가 지금 전에 뒤전에 야 마시지 아마도 로 두께 쉬기 이 계제 여러 먼저 야 가시에 지금 라마다 거랑이 렌데기 저와 사고들도 유비나 야 믹스해들도 유고였어요.
Yes. So this is the case when someone already achieved the power to control his own life. So when you have the power, then you can control your own life. There is a different case when we are unfree, we cannot have any control of one's own life. So regarding the power to control one's life, there is another story regarding a great practitioner, which is Arya Nagarjuna. Arya Nagarjuna, if you study by the biography, at first when he was born into this world, it is said that he has not much age or years to live. He has only around 7 years to live. And knowing this, the mother of Nagarjuna at that time felt very sad. And then the mother took her son into the forest. And when entering into the forest, she was crying, but then she has the ability to meet a certain yogi. And to the yogi, the mother tells the story about her son. And then the yogi said, please don't worry, because there is a method to prolong one's life. And from there, the mother received instruction from this certain yogi. And this yogi assert that this boy can live up to another 7 years. So by this, another 7 years is being prolonged. And then the same things happen to the second period after the first 7 years is exhausted. Then they found another great practitioners who can prolong another 7 years. In short, if you study the biography of Arya Nagarjuna, we know from the story is that these great practitioners can eventually live up to the age of 600. And for this, of course, this related to great practitioners, a certain great masters, the great masters who have a strong connection, especially for the preservation of the teaching, like the one we mentioned.
세링도 다야 되냐 가시가시 이모들어 다들 루규 망보여래 다 제일 먼저 다리 주시니 벌레디 주네 디 루규디 다들 쉬비나
Yes.
네 다가요.
Yes. So regarding the power to extend one's life into long life, apart from the several deities, one particular deities that can be relied upon is none other than Tara. So there are many cases when one can realize the long life upon the deity which is called Tara. And for this, there are many stories. We will not see it right now immediately. There is another session that has been scheduled on the 14th for the date December the 14th.
다양해 당고 안에 고라 미세디 로주 대야 여비나 레디 여비나 딜레 링도 다양해 말이다 마통 다양해 게임만 보지 요래서 즉 쉬사로
Great.
야 단다베지 고불루둘라서 야지 세림도 다양해 여베 소리지 야지 쉬러 다 디니까 레르지 이면나선 투야지 여러 이된데 말이세요 단다 당고 쉬야지 지당이 디리 말죠 내 당고 와서 미 지당이 디디로 다 지라도 까바이나다 고불루둘라서가 된데다 세림도 다양해 용거지 그래도 다 현다데 산제 좀 내들라서가다 되게 나좀 봐도서는 다 셀라왕 토바도서이나 거라 믹스에다 기니 쉬사로
Great.
어디 개발인데 야고 챙고도 와대 기시 야고 마침이나 거라를 투도야지 요러
Yes. So when we explain that, for example, in the context that one has 10 years to live, we say that there is no way to prolong these 10 years. But then there are a lot of obstacles that can shorten the 10 years period. There's one side that we already explained. Then another being explained such as a great practitioner such as Ariana Garjuna. And Ariana Garjuna happens to be able to prolong his life. The one that initially 7 years then can be prolonged for another 7 years, etc. and so forth. Between these two contexts, how does it go? Is it something that is contradictory between one another? Of course, it is not. We have to be very careful and clear about this. When we say that if for example, 10 years period cannot be prolonged, this, of course, in the context of regular practitioners, an ordinary being, and ordinary beings, if he has a certain period of life, of course, this cannot be prolonged. As for the context of Ariana Garjuna, then it's already stated this is a great practitioner. He has the close, strong connection with the teachings and the Buddha Dharma's preservation. There's another case. We need to be clear about this. Then when we mention about the Buddha and like the Arhat, the one already do possess the power to control his own life, there's another special case because they are the Buddha, they are the Arhat. So between all these aspects that you mentioned, we have to be clear. Otherwise, if you're not so clear, perhaps a little bit mix up, then you can mix up between one with another.
다기 이슈로와 연주세야 디제베나네 세디나셰 도바다 치메나셰 도스야데 아니 세디나셰 도바디 도사스로 아 치메나셰 도바세야 되리다 아 치메나셰 도바디 디리도 랜데 밀로 코에 두면은 양양삼 치메나셰 도세야 되리다.
So regarding renunciation as mentioned before, there are two aspects to it, two levels to it. Renunciation regarding to discard, to abandon attachment regarding this life, and then the renunciation to abandon attachment to next life. As for the one regarding this life, we already see the explanation. And the next one, we continue to renunciation regarding abandoning attachment for the next lives. And this corresponds to the text when it says on the fourth verse, repeated reflection on the infallibility of karma and its effects, and on the woes of cyclic existence counters attachment to future lives.
Ati tuandati kariresi shubiyina, lende milo koe tu menam siyate, lende siyate luwa yomari milo ares. Le kewa cheba la teni drepo tewa yunyata, ane le migewa cheba la teni drepo tumi yunyate kora tagara ares. Le kewa cheba la teni drepo tumi yunyata, le migewa cheba la teni drepo tewa yunyasete yomares. Isi tindu yubayina luwa charo. Di tandati milo ares, lende siyate milo ares. Le kewa sabayina drepo tumi tewa yunyata, le migewa cheba yina drepo tumi yunyate kora chuni res rada.
So regarding these lines explaining the countering the attachment to future lives, when it says repeated reflection on the infallibility of karma and sin effects, what does it mean? So this is regarding karma, the cause and effect, karma and its effects. It is said here, it is infallible, the infallibility of karma. This means that precisely when the cause is a virtuous one, then the results must be a happiness result, a happy result. When the cause is a non-virtuous one, then the result must be suffering or non-happiness results. So this is infallible. It is certain it is infallible. If this basic principle of karma, where you say that virtuous cause can then in turn bear the result of suffering, and then non-virtuous cause can cause happiness, this becomes fallible. The first principle becomes fallible, whereby here this is stated that karma is certain, the infallibility of karma. It must be that the good cause, the virtuous cause will bring happy result. The bad cause, the non-virtuous cause will bring suffering. This is infallible, the infallibility of karma.
렌데시야 디 밀로인 바 총자 안에 간다르다 마란조 코에나 놀려야다 안에 깨삽이 제라야 다 안에 교회 동의 세저라 교회 동의 캬바 두지기 동의 세 동의 수미여러 봐 어디기 안에 양양 삼네 안에 지디 치마 편제라 안에 배 깨베이나 저 똑단 저바 피순서바 간데지 임베 이나야 다 간다르 동의랑 신지 임바지 캐베토는 안에디 치면나 셴도 그래서 디리 베나로 마란조다 콜레 끼베나 다데 개와 치마 다가라 마란조 콜레 끼베나 마란조 벤조르 쳔보다 안에드네 또 쳔보다 가리네 야고 유베이나 다가라 코에나르 다가라 취데로 다가라 동의 다가라 유무로 제자 세디마세 세치마라 디제베나 간다르 코에나르 끼베나 동의마다 켜는 유고요만 제가 간다르 개와치마 똑단 저거 표준서가 간대주 중부이나 동문계랑 신지 레자 제자 내래 탈보고도 싫어 담보디 가리 세디낭 셰디 돌아와로 다 니바디 치매낭 셰디 돌아와래
So regarding the infallibility of karma and its effects, so this happens because we are still in samsara. Then when it says the rules of cyclic existence, because once a being already being born into samsara, this being will experience suffering. For suffering itself, we know there are three kinds of suffering. The first one is manifest suffering. The second one is suffering because of change. And then the third one is called suffering inherent to conditioned existence. So three types of suffering. Once a being reborn into cyclic existence, into samsara, he or she must have these three types of suffering. And this fact, the fact that we need to suffer, we will suffer, and we are suffering now, we need to recollect, we think about it over and over again and again. Why? Because based on this reflection over and over again, we can think to ourselves, the same thing will happen again, even though we are reborn into the next lives. Even though in the next lives, we have all the greatness of the samsara, such as the material possessions, the power, the reputation. Even though we are reborn into a good rebirth in the next life, so long that it is still in the cyclic existence, it is the same. The condition is the same, meaning that we will still need to suffer. So when when we need to renounce to generate renunciation, it covers both the renunciation to the attachment regarding this life, and furthermore, renunciation regarding to abandon the attachment regarding to next lives.
너 뒤니 쉬비이나 다 간다라 여와제마야 레뇽에 콜라 끼비이나 다 동미숨기 답에 균제메바 나네 안에 대화세야디 양다바지 싸우니는 영향면도 이내임바 순자 동의대다 레 안에 들어와지 인지미지 지구도 동의대다레 들어와서나 탈바지 인지미지 포고 그도 삼지야디 다 어디를 지민하신다고 이디
So in short, regarding all the future lives, the next lives, if in the future we are still, due to the karma and the kilesa, we are still reborn into cyclic existence, and due to that we are still need to suffer, due to that we are still not to gain what is called ultimate happiness, a real happiness, a true happiness, then we need to renounce all of that future lives. So we need to renounce, to abandon the attachment regarding all future lives.
동의숨시야디 제다 동의시야디 심지 뒤로인에 하고 그래서 들었어. 키다 파발라 소발라야 말한저 부굴제비나 남산 건조 되어야 될 뒤로이 뭐라디 이 심지 뒤로인에 하고 그랬지 항상에 말했어. 안에 그래서 동의 교회 동의시야디 미 폐처와 하고 그랬대. 답변에 차샤비나 말한줄배 शेवटची छावाछिकी योजना त दिगाला एसी सोरी तांजेबे यजिदि खतु리 기부도와 때데 교리 뭐지는 야 당다제냐 고 주도도와 동의무도와냐 당의 동의무도와 대답이 교회 동의 이 미패체와 하고 그래 다단다 말한줄 동의 하고야 동의 가르스도 잡아 단다 디캅디 동의데 잡아 두지기 동의시야 돼 캬바 두지기 동의시야 돼 뜻시시네 맨날매 봐도 캬데비 동의지 리에스 버려 어디 내게 동의디 다 하고야 돼서 가고야 돼서
So regarding the suffering itself, when we mentioned there are three types of suffering, what are those? The first one is manifest suffering. This is very easy to understand because even the animals do not wish to have any suffering. So for example, for the manifest suffering, such as dogs or pigs, that if we are coming to them and hit them, they will know it is suffering and they do not wish that kind of suffering. This is easy to understand. The first one, manifest suffering. The second one is what is called suffering due to change. And for this, perhaps most of us here or most of you here already understand there is something called suffering because of change. So things are changing, and due to this changing, it will cause suffering. And for a simple example, a practical example, when the condition of the weather is hot, you feel hot, and then you turn on the aircon, and because of turning on the aircon, you feel at that time immediately you feel happy because the heat ceases and it becomes cool because of the aircon. And then after some time, when you stay within the aircon, what happens is that this person will feel cold. And this cold will cause suffering. And perhaps relatively, people nowadays can understand there is a suffering due to change. And then we come to the third type of suffering, which is called the suffering inherent to conditioned existence. This one that is perhaps relatively difficult to know, to understand that there is suffering inherent to conditioned existence.
나 대답에 캬바 두지기 동의시야 돼죠 말하자 사제니 nengi 풍부들이 다가들 사제니 nengi 풍부들이 예 친절해야 동네마다 대화해야 되는 거는 중요해요 말.
So if we are discussing the suffering inherent to conditioned existence, the third type of suffering, so basically this is regarding to appropriated impure aggregates. So long that we are still having these impure appropriated aggregates, there is only suffering. There is no hope whatsoever for happiness.
세상 말한줄 사제니 nengi 풍부들이 매번 마셔봐 사제 까발치면에 동의세에 큰 매번 차이요 말이다. 수수 동의 매번 소야게 탑시 제네 사제 김나 김제 할라 야나 야세 간르게 탑시 제비네 돌드나 사제니 nengi 풍부들이 매번 마셔봐도 다가라 동의래. 이러 세버로 어디다.
So by the time we could understand or identify that there is this type of suffering, the third kind of suffering, and this is basically the impure appropriated aggregates, then our task is to eradicate, to destroy, to abandon this impure appropriated aggregates. So long that we still have these impure aggregates, then whatever location we would like to go, whatever destination or place we go, with still with these appropriated aggregates, still we will experience suffering. No matter what location, what place we go, no matter what types of food we take, as long as we still have these impure aggregates, we are still to suffer. This is the main point of the third type of suffering.
세상 알아줘야 동행이 공부를 했어도 단다 사진이 풍부디 동행 중시 싸와 공부는 시리스 제사 뒤 매번 마서리나 따라 동행 균제매 번나비를 했으디리
Di kom sekali kena.
동행이 공부서는 동행이 싸와 소리시래다 아까는 더버려 동행 중시 싸와
So when we have mentioned this third type of suffering, which is called suffering inherent to condition existence, this is basically the source of all suffering, the source of the suffering itself, and this is called the root of suffering.
때나 진대지여로 말아줘까 때나다 즉 빼샤게 가면 유버지 이미나 빼샤오래다 아베나 고문 뭉치그러지 중바이나 아 된대증에 가대자 돌아 뭉치 싸지 아디 사투선 날 흘려야지 되게 기부제 되게 삼로 들렸다 것도 걸어 아 갈래 잡 아 뭐네 뭉치그라지 잡아 따가라 하리 그 뭉치그라 살아야 돼 따가라 dum이다라 얘들 양자 dum이 사벌리 거래 뭉니라야 뭉숨라야 데레 시에 dum이다라 이거로 뭐 데레 빼나 뒤로
Yes. So regarding this context condition of suffering that we just mentioned, we can give a very practical example to this. Say, for example, someone who has a difficulty regarding money. So money is very tangible things, is money, dollar. So for example, somebody who has difficulty regarding dollar, then he has the needs to collect, say like $100,000. So because difficult, he needs $100,000. And what does he do? First of all, why does he need $100,000? Because he thinks that now he's very suffering, he's very uncomfortable, he has difficulty. By the time he can get $100,000, he can relax. Nothing sad will happen. He will be happy by that time. So he put all the effort that he could possibly do in order to obtain $100,000. And he did. And then he actually got the $100,000. And regarding this context of suffering, what happens is that by the time he achieved $100,000, which he think will be his happiness, it will change. By the time he earned $100,000, immediately when he thinks it is happiness, another suffering will come for sure. For example, the most simplest predicament that will happen is that by the time he gets himself $100,000, he will need another $200,000, another $300,000, etc. And these all are suffering, which is what initially he thinks at the level of $100,000 is a happiness. When he reached there, it already becomes a suffering, and it will continue. Another things will happen by the time he achieved that $100,000. Things will come up like that, and this is in turn is not the initial happiness that he would like to achieve. And this is in the context of the third type of suffering.
때를 찾아나 뒤로 말하죠 류라 나서 슈체모르지 중 류르 까메리지 중디사마 대답이 나서 때 매비 있는다 뭐는 기미 쉬우지 대부 상다 삼리나 들고 거버리로 다문에 나서 때 맵차이 뒤지들 따가라냐 강해신다 도미신다 하나 좋아해버려 말이 인데도
Yes. So it happens to be similar condition when we are in a certain sickness. Say like a person who is having a heavy sickness, is fallen a disease, a heavy disease sickness. And then this person, what does he think? He thinks that by the time he recover and being a healthy condition, he will be happy. By the time he recover from this heavy sickness, he will for sure be happy. This is the thinking of the patient. But what happens by the time he managed to recover from the sickness, other types of suffering will come, and this will happen again and again in the same situation.
더 뒤에 쉬비나 단단하라서 대화세 제로 마 기부도 마 야부도 지 남다면서 기부지 용거로 기부디 뭐네 기부를 해서는 기부 말을 버다 먼저 남유디로 가르에서 디자마디 사체기 대화세야 되리 사체기 대화세야 돼 법도 칼에 때문에나 대화 소리 요르데 뭐비 내줄라 대 뭐비 내줄라 가르에서는 동의해서 봐.
So in short, when we talk about this, then we need to talk about happiness, what we have been referring all this time as happiness. When we say, oh, I'm happy, I'm okay, I have nothing, not so bad, I'm not having so much trouble, I'm happy, I'm relatively happy. If you say, I'm happy, then you need to ask further, are you really happy? And the answer must be no. Because anything that we are referring to the terms happiness is a contaminated happiness. Because contaminated happiness, at the first glance, we will see that, oh, this is happiness. But then when we see through it, see through the contaminated happiness, in reality, it is suffering.
다원나 대화 많이 보이나로 다 대화 원에 대한 간대지 요래서 쉬비나 대화 원에 대 가세기 롱제비에는 디지기 대화 치료 기부리 넣어야 돼다 대화 원에 대 페레 차샤비에는 말아서 저거 또디 잡아 강해지 여러 이제 갈라 세비에나 맞다 대화 용도도 해치지 용도도 다디 대화 원에 말고 내가 그 삭제기 대화도 기시마 대화 원에 이메나 알라 까제 세베네 디지기 대화 치료 로거래 딱 알라 까제세네 말 까제세 그러다 알라디 지담제 망고 세베네 그 냥가로 다 간다로 거라 세지 여러마도 디게네 사요 말어 어디로 그러다
So we have been mentioning that actually there is not happiness. So what is true happiness? If we want true happiness, we need to see the nature of true happiness. The nature of true happiness, that is something that when achieved, it will not decrease. It will increase again and again. It will intensify again and again and not decreasing. And for this, just a simple example, a very practical, when someone who is hungry, because of hungry, we feel uncomfortable and there is suffering. When someone is hungry, is suffering. Then in order to overcome this type of suffering, the suffering of hunger, then we put food, we eat. And when we eat, we think that that is called happiness. The happiness comes from eating because you are suffering from the hunger. But actually, is it this happiness that is happening? The answer is no, because this is for sure, everybody knows. The more you eat, the more, if this is a true happiness, then the more you eat, the happier you will feel. But it doesn't work like this. Everybody knows the more you eat, even there is a certain level, you cannot even eat anymore because it will be dangerous for the body. So this is example of what is true happiness. When the more you have it, it will increase. Again, you'll be more happy and more happy. It's true happiness. It's different with the contaminated happiness. Contaminated happiness is that when you first got it, then it becomes changed into suffering.
다단다 딘르기 대화 레베스는 대화 레라 얘나야 대화 양다와 레베스는 말이라 말이다 요 대화기한 사이시에디 말해서 그래
So if we want to analyze this, because based on terms, perhaps maybe if you ask if is it a happiness, then yes, it is still happiness. But is it a valid happiness? No, it is not a valid happiness.
what in the 다문에 대화 양다바디 간르지 요레세나 배나 타르바세야 돼 토비나 알아서 타르바세야 돼 토비나 대화 모네 대화도 유무요레스 이 간르지 유무요레스는 지삼기 알아서 대화대라 룽제베이나야 대화 체로 누구요 다 간다 가세기 룽제베이나 디지기 체로만도 촌 노야요 말 요그래도 요 말이다 간다 어디 대화 양다바세야 돼 대화가 들리지 보고요 다
So what is valid happiness? The valid happiness can be achieved once one has achieved the state of liberation. When he has been liberated or achieved liberation, then that is true happiness, a valid happiness. Because when it's true happiness, the more you get it, the more you will become happier. Same like when we achieve liberation, the more liberation that we can achieve, the happier that we are becoming. It is not decreasing, it cannot fall down anymore. The more you get it, the happier you will be.
와 된대요. 다 된대요. 뭐 손사 다 말한저 다 지취 제네 다베 지 제부 타르투 세고레 다 말한저 된대니야 또디 가르스는 동네 탐제단 제외 타르바지 더야 되다 말한저 된대니야 또디니 버로.
Kandiskenla, jangan sungguh.
나 말한저 최냠 내지야 저런 도 뒤비나 최냠 내지야 이 동네 탐제단 제외 동네세야 돼서 간다 사제지 대화대야 간다 동료래도 가로 어디 동네 탐자단 제외 타르바지 토비알이야 다 말하죠 대지지고로 하다
Yes. So when we say we would like to do a spiritual practice, we would like to do a Dharma practice, what is the point of doing a Dharma practice? The reason and the purpose for doing a Dharma practice is because we would like to overcome suffering and overcoming suffering by achieving liberation. So the point of doing a Dharma practice is to achieve the state of liberation.
다와 된대로 다들 민중시야 된대게 말아서 동네 탐자단 제외 제와지 파바 타르바지 파바 제발라 민중에나 그는 요함을 제가 민중시야 되냐 가지고 그래서 빌어
So we would like to achieve liberation. We want to achieve liberation. Liberation is a state when we are free from all kinds of suffering, which is include the contaminated happiness, which are themselves are suffering. So we would like to be free from all kinds of suffering. So we want to achieve liberation. And in order to achieve liberation, the qualities that needed to be cultivated is renunciation.
다 된대 민중지 고베야나 다 민중의 간리지 끼고 그래서 수마이나다 데려도 대다 보면 코에 편조라 이미 기재자면 미게지 민중군도 타바 되니로 중나데스 민중께 발라스 다 민중께 차이도 들으리 다 간다라 민중세야 되다기 슈가나 신이래로 말아줘다 내용을 코아들 게 신젤래야 안에 동행이랑 심마도 대화세야 돼 띠부자면 요 말에서로 내년 봐 손자다 코에 편절라다 코에 편조여라다 눈물un제다 다지 포고사다 다 된만 보지 여러 와도 저 이미 끼지잖아 미기시 다 인생군도로 하버트 얘기로 다 인간 세 가리지 이베에네 하버트 인지민지 토부도 삼에 삼로디 말한저 셈게 쇠샤바 많이 봐 거라 랑신기 용돼야지 준비해나 갑자기 되자마 안에 민주세야 돼 깨버리겠어 어디서 뭐
Yes. So in order to achieve liberation, we need to cultivate renunciation. And how to cultivate in renunciation? In order to cultivate renunciation, we can refer to the text on the verse, the 5th verse, the next verse, when it says, when by meditating in this way, desire for the pleasures of cyclic existence no longer occurs, even fleetingly, and day and night, continuously, the aspiration to liberation arises. You have generated the wish to be free. So renunciation must be cultivated because we understand now we are in the position due to the karma and the klesha, we are reborn in cyclic existence in the samsara. While we are still, so long we are still in the samsara, everything in samsara is nature, is suffering. There is no happiness in samsara. So, because we understand there is no happiness, we will not be thinking about the greatness of the samsara can offer. For example, the reputation, the material possession, the clothes, the eating, all those things. And then how we are supposed to think about it, day and night, we wish to be free from all types of suffering. Day and night, we think we would like to achieve liberation. And when this day and night thinking of renunciation has already achieved in our mind, not by thinking, not with effort, by spontaneously, by naturally, this is the time when we have achieved renunciation.
다 데이터비 년중지 개비이나 년중의 지고기 지기를 위해서는 대상지 지구 말이 손으로
Is it enough for us to just cultivate renunciation? As we have mentioned before, no, it's not enough for just renunciation.
하나 대지고기 만디비나는 가르고를 쓰듯잖아. 하나 잔주기 셈이어야 돼. 기고를 위해서. 예수님.
Why is it not sufficient for just renunciation? Because we will need the bodhicitta, the spirit of enlightenment.
다 잔주기 셈 기고를 열어잖아. 기고를 열어 손자 존재가를 쓰듯잖아. 대나순도. 년중에야 남다 생계기 심바면나 라면 잔주기. 현재 대회 교로 민교의 론내는 잔주 생조 기에서 되리. 말하죠. 년중지 기회 이나야 하세요. 년중에 남바다가 되다 잔주기 셈기 심바 매비나 잔주기 셈기 마심바이나 하나 말하죠. 개와 가르쳐야 이나야 안에 라면 잔주 토야 라면 잔주 세야 돼 상계기 고만로 상계기 고바 토야게 안에 귤을 더 두고 말이에스 이래 봐 손자 자 가서 년중 기회 때문에 예제를 매바도 잔주기 셈기야 돼 안에 합시지 그래서 뒤손으로
So it's not sufficient for just renunciation because we will need to cultivate the bodhicitta. And what is the reason for this? The reason for this is precisely what is stated on the text, on the 6th verse. If the wish to be free is not conjoined with sublime bodhicitta, it will not be a cause of the great bliss of unsurpassed enlightenment. Therefore, the wise generate the supreme spirit of enlightenment. So when a practitioner has the ability to cultivate renunciation, then renunciation in turn after that, if this renunciation is not conjoined with bodhicitta, then whatever merit that he is accumulating will not serve as a cause to achieve enlightenment. So this person with the renunciation in his mind, the qualities of renunciation, he will do merit accumulation, but this merit will not serve for this person, this being, to achieve the liberation in the form of unsurpassed enlightenment, which is the Buddhahood itself. So once one already achieved renunciation, on the basis of renunciation, he will need to apply the methods to achieve or cultivate bodhicitta.
다 된된 년중지 중부 이나야 잔주기 셈면은 연구 말해서 뒤손으로 이 가르에서 되자마 말아서 다다 태바체의 취 지근진이 봤습니다. 다 태바체의 취 제발라 민지민지 잔주기 셈데다 고고여로 봐. 어디를 간데에서 되자마 년중기 안에 셈기 심비 쓰거라. 년중기 사베 심비 계사치 제베이나 하나 타가 토베 줄로 그래서 개와디 잔주기 셈기 심비 계사치 제베이나 계자디 상계기 고바 토야기 줄로 그래서 뒤송으로 제가 말하도 잔주기 셈디 매비나 말하도 개와 가르체비나야 안에 상계기 고바 토야기 줄로 두고요 말이 이래 봐 손자 잔주기 셈디 냐바도 그래서 뒤송으로
So once one already cultivated renunciation, achieved renunciation, but not yet to achieve the bodhicitta, this is something that needs to be cultivated. Why we need bodhicitta? Because the practitioners or the teaching that we would like to achieve, the destination is a Mahayana destination. So it's a great vehicle. And for a great vehicle destination, we must for sure need the bodhicitta. So if the person already achieved renunciation, On the basis of this renunciation, any merit accumulation that he could accumulate, it will serve as the course for liberation. But without bodhicitta, if the person with the renunciation has conjoined with the bodhicitta, any merit accumulation that he can accumulate, this serve as the causes to achieve enlightenment. So for the causes of enlightenment, for sure, a practitioner must have a bodhicitta. Without bodhicitta, the merit accumulation based on renunciation will not serve as the causes for enlightenment. For enlightenment, perfect enlightenment, the Buddhahood, bodhicitta is indispensable, is a must.
나 산지지 고방마 통년 지기도 안에 타바점 통년 지기도 안에 타바 통년 가 기부제 되게 인상 줄에 여기나 자주선데 저와요 말이스. 근데
Jamdosem.
응?
Jamdosem doa yung mali.
나 산지지 고방면에 지기도 세요. 나 타바점 통년 지기도 타바 통년은 가 기부제 되게 인상 사이 여기나 안에 자주지 세면에 지기를 이제 자주지 세면 거야요 말. 타바 통년라 자주지 세면 거야요 말.
Yes.
산지지 고방 통년라 메가지고 그래서 이슈로.
Yes. So perhaps there are practitioners who has a thinking such as like this one, who thinks that perhaps I do not need to achieve Buddhahood. It is sufficient for me to achieve liberation. By the time I achieve liberation, I will be happy. So if there is a person who thinks like this, it is enough to achieve just liberation, then yes, correct, he doesn't need bodhicitta. To achieve liberation doesn't necessarily need to cultivate the bodhicitta.
세상다 말아서 해바침에 취진이 벌써자다 장주기 선디 다 매도 미롱아레스 디슈로 세상 역시 좋은 장주기 선 쩌마만 이바세야 되고요래 이시디 마주모이네 장주기 선 쩌마세야 되고요래 다 되는 가롱이 거네 심비 계사지 제베나 계사디 참만 산지 주고바 토리하고 줄로 그래서 디스무요로
As in this context, as we say that we follow the Mahayana practice, the Mahayana Dharma, and the Mahayana is the great vehicle, the Mahayana Dharma. So for the Mahayana Dharma, bodhicitta is indispensable. It must have bodhicitta to be categorized as the Mahayana practice. The best bodhicitta is for sure is the spontaneous bodhicitta. If we haven't have the spontaneous bodhicitta, then we need to cultivate bodhicitta based on effort. Between the two, any kinds of bodhicitta that we could cultivate, be it the spontaneous or the one with effort, with this bodhicitta, any merits that we accumulated will serve as the cause for perfect enlightenment.
제가 전주기 심스야 되지다 마하야나스에 들어가다 택진바스에 그 첨보스바의 규제 가르스도 셈 첨보스로 셈 첨보임의 규제가는 삼루디 당당히 첨보를 다 지다 말아서 택내에서 그러다 태고 충무리디 삼루 가르던 거를 쓰기삼아 마 동네 탐제단 저와지 중나 사비다 되게 안에 람냠슬레 보여요 다 전주기 셈 규례전에 태고 첨보가 돼서 말아서도 나 미직만도 요 말이지 요 안에 신심진세대 타요만 이 심지 탐제 동의세야 다 대화 통역의 체도 말아 지구장 이뭐 심지 신 개체보지니 심지 신 동의세야 다 대화 통역의 체도 미안해 타고 타고 지기 산지 고반 타고 지기 사베들 삼루디 유드 다고 다리 삼루디가 지고 말와 그 제가 참 쉬어서 와인데
So for the bodhicitta, this is a special quality. This is a very special quality regarding to the Mahayana practice. The Mahayana practice is the great vehicle. What is the meaning of great here in the Mahayana, the great vehicle? Because it's regarding to the mind. The mind within the Mahayana practice must be a great mind. So the mind here referring to the way of thinking. So it's the way of thinking which is great, which is big or great. And this is in turn different with the lesser vehicle, when we say lesser vehicle as compared to great vehicle, because for the lesser vehicle, or the terms Hinayana, Mahayana and Hinayana. For the lesser vehicle, the practitioner will think, may I be free from my suffering. And based on this kind of thinking, may I be free from all of my suffering, then he enters into the path, which is a lesser vehicle path. As for the great vehicle path, the person has the quality of the bodhicitta, because why? He thinks that myself is just one in number. All sentient beings is limitless in number. Compared to all sentient beings and myself is nothing. I just one in number. All sentient beings is much more important, first of all, in terms of number, and then they're based on their kindness, etc. And based on the all sentient beings being more important than myself, then I myself will overcome their sufferings completely, will present them with the ultimate happiness. All sentient beings is in fact much more important compared to myself, which is just one in number. And then for the sake of overcoming all sentient being suffering and presenting them with the ultimate happiness, we would like to achieve liberation in the form of Buddhahood. So this kind of thinking, if you compare the one who can think that all sentient beings is much more important in terms of number, in terms of kindness, and then he would like to achieve Buddhahood, the great vehicle, compared to the lesser vehicle, I would like to be free from all of my sufferings. The difference is how much you try to compare. Yes. And by this point, we would like to perhaps take a short break.
大略性的应该有关大学的这个那种我提出我这里民众咱们的俺超不满的，那讲究的生命不可以是的说嘛，那我那讲究的生命各位呢，我那讲究的生命地区感觉这里是的什么的，受到就是对的天的，老家来的青蛙当反正家庭条件不是穷，马来明明马这个你天了的说的。
So before we mentioned that it is not enough to just generating the renunciation. We still need to generate the qualities which is the bodhicitta, the spirit of enlightenment. And then the question is how to generate the spirit of enlightenment. And for this, we can see what is stated on the text on the 7th verse when it said, swept along by the current of the 4 furious rivers.
他这感觉的是，
One again. Sorry, it's not the 7th verse, but the next 2 lines when it says that if the wish to be free is not conjoined with the sublime bodhicitta, it will not be a cause of the great bliss of unsurpassed enlightenment. Therefore, the wise generate the supreme spirit of enlightenment.
他这感觉的是区别呢，当我的修长修是对你开的是要这个，修全部西是要的，这当来了，有对的修全部西当，对的修全部西是要的，这个修全部西是要的了。对修全部西，有对的修全部西是要的，在实际上，对外修是要的，那你西到外修。西边出，马里边出是出西的，那出了别家的了，是吧？别的出来的，那别人出嘛了，别人对的出西啊的，别人马上这三月住那老了呀，到嘛一把，别家广东嘛在马里边西部的对的出下的，但是嘛，对的出西啊的对，但到位出西啊的，他到哪里？到那个他妈的到了吧？当然沙拉的了，我的到哪里？到位出西啊的到底下了，西边出西就了，西边出西的个人是对什么？他们国没到当马里巴马一把长嘛下的，那马里边出西啊的，他们的马里边出西啊的马里巴长嘛的，那广南的邦家这边马里巴长嘛。那马里巴是什么？马里巴长嘛，马里巴出下来了。
当我的周围出，周围的rivers。
这马里周围看的，在这空中啊，在马里巴西，那里的，在这空中啊，在马里开中那的吧，我的周围出的这。那到位出西啊的，到我的大巴那些，是吧？
对。
那个嘞，西边出西啊的，看不呢，到我当马里巴嘛一嘛，我都说，有么都是个嘞西边怎么，的，西边出西啊的，的嘛一嘛的，广南的邦家区，但马里巴长嘛，马里巴出的，那个。那别啥的，碰到都是马里巴的吧？我都是长嘛，他知道也得可是。马里巴出，知道的绝对的出西些的。
西北出的，西北的个的西北。
西北考了。西北是要的，考是要的根基的。
那是。So for the way to achieve the method to achieve the spirit of enlightenment, the bodhicitta. It corresponds to the 7th verse. I mistakenly thinks they're still on the 6th verse, but this actually on the 7th verse, when it says that swept along by the current of the 4 furious rivers, bound tightly by the fetters of karma, hard to undo, trapped in the iron cage of self-grasping, completely enveloped in the thick gloom of ignorance. So this is discussing about the way to generate the spirit of enlightenment. But first we see what is meant by the lines. The first line, when it says, swept along by the current of the 4 furious rivers. So there are 4 furious rivers, the 4 rivers. This is referring to, the first one is the rivers of desire. The second one is referring to the river of view. The second is the river of the cyclic existence. And the fourth is the river of ignorance. So actually, when I say this is a river, it's not actually meaning river as is a body of water which is called river, but it is referring to, for the first one, the river of desire. The first river here, referring to the first 5 of the 6 root kleshas. We know there are 6 root kleshas: attachment, anger, pride, ignorance, and doubt. So the desire, the river of desire, covering the first 5 of the 6 root kleshas. And then the second one, the river of view, this is referring to the 6th root klesha, which is afflicted views. And then the third one being the river of cyclic existence. This is referring to the view of the higher realms, and then referring to the which is not ignorance, anything that which is not ignorance. And then the view of the higher realms, this is the third river, the river of cyclic existence. And the fourth river is the river of ignorance. This is basically covering all types of ignorance, including what is mentioned in the previous sessions when we studied. There is the abandonments that needs to be abandoned during the part of seeing, and then the ignorance that needs to abandon during the part of meditation. These are all types of ignorance, and this is part of the fourth rivers, the river of ignorance.
이 규시리로 지난 되베 뉴몬, 따웨 뉴몬, 시비 뉴몬, 마리비 뉴몬을 리고 지다. 얘네다 빼샤로 다 간다 추천보시를 빼샤로 다 간다 이 규디지 추천보 시세 디제 당고 디제시 비민다. 규디지 추천보 시제. 다 제디지 추천보 시세에 가르세나 제와 가와 나와 치와 대시보디 안에 레디지 추천보 시세고 가르세나 다다 규디지 추천보 시보데라 때네 제보디 계획 때문에 다외 때문에 나외 때문에 치유 때문에 디시보디 유고야 돼서 변화돼 시고.
So actually, for the rivers, there are rivers that are the cause and rivers that are the result. The rivers that are cause that we have seen, the river of desire, the river of view, the river of cyclic existence, the river of ignorance. Then this is the 4 types of view, and then which are seen. Actually, this is analogy using a river. It's not the real river. Sometimes you can say that this is the kleshas. So for example, the klesha of desire, the klesha of view, the klesha of cyclic existence, the klesha of ignorance. So just we switch the term, the river becomes klesha, because river here is just analogy being used, it's not the real river. And these 4 become the cause, the river which is our cause. And then after that, there are rivers which are the result. What are the 4 rivers which are the result? This is a bird, 건다게나스 시랑의 깨워제
계획 때문에 가외 때문에라 가와서야 되는 경고차야 되니지요. 하나는 나외 되니지요. 하나는 치유 때문에 시야가 되니지요.
So I repeat, the first one, the rivers, the next 4 rivers, which are the result, which is birth, aging, sickness, falling sick, and death. So birth, sickness, birth, aging, sickness, and death. Why these are the river of cause, the river of result? Because the first 4 is the river of cause. from the cause comes the results. So from the river of desire, the river of view, etc., comes these 4 rivers of results.
第八段对你他讲过了，别的个人是的出钱不去，出钱不去，洗了别家的了。马上都出钱不的给的这些呢，出的给让那个嘛都钱多了。
Yes,
第一呢，现在大家牛毛洗多，
yes,
我的给嘛都让那个可以拿来都这么费用不的也是了，
yes,
我的别家的。
yes. So of course there are reasons in using the analogy with the meaning connected with the analogy itself. So when you are using the analogy of river, what is a river? A river is a huge body of water. So when someone in the middle of the river, he has no power, he has no control, he is swept away by the big river. The same when someone is in the power of kleshas, when in the middle of a big kleshas, a big body of klesha, the person has not any freedom, has not any control, is swept away by the klesha. Then this is the reason why sentient beings are swept away in samsara, in cyclic existence.
근데 말한테 추천보들이 나와는 만데 캐리모로 뒤뒤자마 말한테 깜바다 라바 담내나 딸리디게 담내나 나도 다시 용식이래도 그래서 추제네 파출 모야게다 그래서 다시 용식이 이나야 뒤요 말해서 정말 딸리 담바나 시를 치워 내년바디기 담니
Yes.
이나 말아도 봐 추되네 바트에 두고요 말세 기대자.
Yes. So another important aspect by using the analogy of a great river, a big river, when someone in the middle of the big river is swept away, but on the condition that this person, so for example, this person, the hands and foot, the legs are not tied up. Still, we say that perhaps he has a slight possibility this person can try to swim to the shore. But in the rivers, these big rivers, the sentient beings who are born in the rivers of the samsara, the hands and legs are tied due to the bad karma. It's the karma who's tied up the legs and the feet, so the person cannot practically doesn't have any control in the big river.
내일 출친보지기 전에 다 말하자 깜발라봐도 탑에 담아 있나요? 그 뒤주디 신앙이면은 인위면은 말하자 깨잖아요. 미션다가 범비지야게다 고갑지 용식을 해서 얘나야 되게 말해서 세모값을 인 거죠. 대단한 맛에 갈라 되게 예배값도 체계해서 빼디라. 되는데 가르쳐는 말이고 리버티기다 말하자 깊지 이래.
Yes. So imagine someone who is swept away in the big river, but then his hands and legs are tied. But it happens that this happening in the context of daylight, there's still a hope, a slight hope, because it's happening in the daylight. This person can, at least scream for help, asking for help, because it's the daylight time. But in this context, within this analogy, when someone is trapped in the river, swept away in the river, the hands and feet are tied in the very darkest part of the night. So he cannot see anything. And the meaning of this is that the person is completely covered by ignorance.
일단 그것도 뒤로 그 말하자 탑에 담에 이내로 탑에 담에 다 딸리기 담에 레탈리티 때에 레라고 내버려야 되는 의미는 먼저 다시 하게 됐어. 이나야 뒤때 차고 짜는 신데 차고 어디 지금 당시에 이 가리 이제는 당진세에 나라서 가사 당진세로 당진이 보면 때때 나라서 당대로.
So when the person swept away in the big river, and then the hands and legs are tied up. So suppose if the one that being tied up is something that is loosened, is easily to be released and open, perhaps there is a slight hope for this person to rescue himself from the river. But then when the hands are and feet and legs are tied up by iron. The ropes are made from iron. So this iron that is tighten up the feet and the legs and the hands is this analogy for grasping.
我等这一把算到马上做的，俺那酒，俺那出全部洗了带来，俺那这个这个那些的都没了，说吧，他的让那个他的就可以那都是可的呀，都是什么意思？一路。
So there are 4 rivers of cause, which bear the results in the 4 rivers of results, which is birth, aging, sickness, and death. And in this way, that we are unfree, we don't have any control, we are trapped in the rivers of samsara.
我觉得，他刚才提到了嘛，有中的些了，是吧？他提到了像这是陆剧去学的意思。
And up to this point, perhaps there is one story that I could share with you all.
他这个是的，怎么办？大当的这些家里话，大当的这些家里话是他这当给他全部转来了，俺这这些让里嘛，你那个他给他全部转了，你就怎么办？但你搞不到的学业的，俺这这些家里的，大当嘛这些家里的，俺那陆剧的学的意思。
Yes. So this certain story, this particular story related to a great Kadampa master, which is called Geshe Chakriwa, which happens to be the disciple of the great Kadampa Geshe Langring Thamba. Geshe Langring Ma is a very renowned Geshe, but then this is the context when we try to see the life of the Geshe Chakriwa, the disciple.
他当然提拔了呀，他学过也总结了这样，这是你要多了这三亚的切头，他就没学过意思。
The reason why I presented this story, perhaps this is something that you can use because just not to be so to generate enthusiasm with a story.
其他的牛呀，这个用上嘛，吃了差不吃了那么多了。
But perhaps in the general, within our condition now, we cannot feel too much of something or the other because right now in outside there is raining heavily.
还有呢，他其实这里我是觉得，他们其实这里，这个类似中国的实际上嘛，那么他个看遇上安德森那就看的书了，他安德贵了，俺米山是中国的意思，米山的那老了呀，他俺他妈的不过多名米古，俺不过对的，俺爸爸妈妈他刚才或者米古。 他的这些这里话是要的不会对那老的这个意思，我的就学的呢。
So in the previous time, in the past, there is in the Tibet, I know there is a location which is called Kham, Pu, and Amdo. This happens in Amdo. In Amdo village, there is one family, a householder, consists of a family of 9 persons, which is the father, the mother, and 7 children. And Geshe Chakriwa is the youngest among the 7 children.
他第一这张吧，他没啥的了，他不会对那呢，不会急嘛的，他要么的常常洗不的是。俺呢，这张个嘛是爸爸的大个人，他洗不出来，他装不的是。他第二个他没啥的那老了呀，俺呢没洗全家收的话，看他的他不会煮干，爸爸装他，阿妈他不会急嘛的，他要嘛的是。你看那边搞了呀，他。 ये यूंगी था मितो से करेला कोई और ऐसे ना आमाते था स्वर्ण से तोंडी दा बोले चिचु यार ऐसे था खांडुमा कैसे इंसान खांडुमा से पे शिवजी की दवा मैंने जन खांडुमा से ये तेरे या वो चिकला मुझे चिक मारे से दवा ता ये तो ना दे करे से ना था आमाते था स्वर्ण से या थी ता चिक मिजान आलोला या टामा शिवे चांया ही मुरे टामा शिवे से ना पाचे चांया 俺那米芒果种着呀， 하는 미산한 노래 심지 뒤로여러 빠주 랑고라 소바들은 마무시 치료야 뒤로유 거예요. 제가 아무리 뒤에서 예용이 믿어서 되려고 해요.
Yes. So what happens to this family of 9%? The family of 9%, among the 7 children, only 1 survived, the other 6 passed away or died. And then the father of the family also passed away and died. So 6 plus 1, 7 people died, leaving only the mother and the youngest child. And what this happened to this family, which is initially 9% and leaving only just 2%, the village, you have the neighbors are saying this family, what happens is that it looks like the mother could be a type of evil spirit. So the type is Sondroma, a type of evil spirit, like a ghost, but just evil spirit. Because why? Because sometimes in the family there can exist someone due to the existence of this member of the family, then the family can experience a lot of obstacles. For example, many people got sick or many members family die or pass away. And if there is any animals, domestic animals belong to the family, such as the cows or the pigs are passing away. So the surrounding neighbors, due to what happened to this family, they say perhaps the mother is a type of evil spirit.
내가 뒤산바다 부부되게 고래다. 부부되게 다 안에 믿으세요다. 안에 아마 지지를 니니 인사에서 망고지 안에 두서 랍데베서로. 근데 랍데베 잡아다 니마지 다 부부다 아마 니에데베 깔라야. 지다 아마데다 그 관다 가디나 라르고요. 관다 세나 아마데 라르고요. 인자 부부되게 다 믿어서 망고 쉬우지 라고도 아마야 다베 관다 가디나 라르고도 다디 가리나 삼고 보고지 그래버리겠어.
So when the neighbors start saying that perhaps the mother is a type of evil spirit, of course, what happens is that the child, the last remaining child, hear this because the child can hear what is being said by the neighbors. So the child when hear about this, because the house now is only living 2%, the mother and the child. So they live together, they sleep together, they sleep in the same house. So the child at the time, at night time, the child realized something. Because the child is being in the same house, the child realized at night time, the mother often disappear. So the fact that the mother often disappear during night time, plus what he heard from the neighbors saying that the mother could be an evil spirit, so it kind of make the child wondering. He began to start to wonder what is going on.
나중에 부부되게다 들인 관담에 아마 가봐 누구도 와야고 이제 따로 삼고 뒤삼네 안에 그 니주만 말하는 저기는 니원에 구요 말이라
Yes.
왜 나를 니스다 되는지라고 그러다 근데 니주말에 구제도 대대들 삼 다 아메 삼다 거니 구샤 삼도서 전에서로
Yes.
다 내지려야 다지 이제 관다 생기 주제 당분이 이거들 되려야다 어머니 레벨에서
Yes.
어머니들 즉 동봉마 버리지 즉 동봉문 버리지 어제니 요네 아나 아말라 페시워스
Yes.
아나 아마데리슈 야 디제네다 다 아메 따따따르데 가르에서도 잡아 과다지 요래서로 감님바 맞아 내가 별을 제베나 감님바들은 뭐예요 감디 바라라 이군도세 또 따세요
Yes.
어디내제 요 다 아마데다 감디 현재로래 다 어머니래로 대직면도 직제라도
Yes.
아마데다 감디션에 감디다 그 사람 맞아지 그 바나가나 때방
Yes.
그지고 그래서 내가 어디 주시
Yes. So the child, being a child, is wondering, and then the child decided to find out what really happens with the mother, because the mother always disappear during nighttime. He decided to investigate what is really happening. So at nighttime, during sleeping time, the child pretending to be sleeping. So the mother is sleeping, the child pretend to be sleeping. So at nighttime, around 1 a.m. or 2 a.m., then at that night, two female comes into the house. There are two females. One female, which is the face is reddish in color. The other female, the second female, which is the face is bluish in color. So they come and they ask the mother to go. So the way they are going is that in Tibet, there is a certain type of box, wooden box. The wood is not of a good quality, it's a bad quality, just a regular wooden box. And the way they are going is that the mother will ride on the wooden box as if riding a horse. So off they go. First one is the first female going, and then the second female going, and then the third one is the mother riding a wooden box as if riding a horse, and the horse can fly. The wooden box could fly as if a horse.
디 인디자마다 아마 로사리다 디 바라다 부구다 중중인자 아마 조용들 간데실레는데 그 하고면도 거미불.
So on this first encounter, the child tried to investigate what is happening. So it's late at night. The mother went and disappeared, and the child fall asleep. So he doesn't really understand what is happening because he has fallen asleep, despite his wish to investigate initially.
디 젤라다 고모 가시직 젤레야다 그 단단한 제비나 다 군이야 보이면서 딜레 감나를 주비나 감디나를 주비나다 아무 거원 도문도 야고 하고 그래서네 그 감나를 주되 그랬어.
Yes. So the first night when he has fallen asleep, then he thinks again, and the next few nights he tried to investigate again, and he thinks to himself, the child, if he is to investigate it at the very late night, he will sure to fall asleep again. So he tried to find a method. This time he decided that he will hit himself to hide himself inside the wooden box.
그 디디 고랑이다 녀시디 가나 고랑 반달이요. 반달이다 고랑 실리무티 가나요. 고랑 예비 녀셔가 잡으랬어요. 고랑 디나는 주되 그랬어.
So the child is, of course, try to make it proper, meaning that he tried to investigate it. He tried to look like he's sleeping. So on the top of the bed, he put the pillow and covered the pillow with the blanket as if he was still sleeping.
디디자마 아메사마다 코모니 니쿠샤 상타 도즈텐데로. 다 도즈텐데디자마다 다가랑 뒤지 권다 생리 주대 당부 니바도 냐마 용경이다 보모 마보다 유부디 요네다 아말라 페시스. 다가랑다 아메다 감디션제 거다. 다 디디자마 남유이나 감디 때 토보도 거래. 때야 토보. 아나 감디 끼에 잡어야 말이라. 이 권다데 부부디다 감나를 주대데 감디 다마 때 린다로 토보도 마도 찍찍. 니바데 감디 닝바이면서 끼에 잡어야. 찌릿찌릿. 디링에 따데 가르쳐되나 토보를 로토기면도 끼에 시우지 잡아도 인데나버스.
So the mother at night time, he saw on the blanket and the pillow, the mother thinks that the child is sleeping. So the same like previous nights, there will be two ladies coming, two females coming, one with the reddish face, one with the bluish face. And then the mother will go, just like the previous nights, using the wooden box. He will ride on the wooden box. So usually the wooden box can go fly high, and then there will be no sound coming out of the wooden box. But that night when he's about to go riding the wooden box, what happens is that the wooden box cannot fly too high. It's very low, quite low, lower than usual. And then there is a sound made by the wooden box when they try to ride on it. So she went again with the first lady going, and the second female and third is riding the wooden box.
다딩에 봐 드론에다 킬로미터 망고지 봐 그디사마나 되게 또래지 열에서 구부란 다 구부란데 내대사마다 아마 모란다다 보마 망고지 비리다 고고제제대로 아나 아마디 다 건전하로는 다 뽑으려들어도 무직서에서 또들어도 아마디 기마데
Mm.
기마데라다 따리 감지여러 감데 아메다 슈티려버리다 간다
Yes.
어디가나 아마데
Mm.
아나 아마데 사비 제레야다 건조다 지금 하나 가르사야겠으나 갑디디사마냐 보문이기 우 시주로 제나자로
Mm.
어디 레지 케는 거리에서
Mm.
다디 케요네 다 아마데 쪼러와
Mm.
아마데 쪼인 데자바 어디 제나자들이 고데 뚝제 아마데는 이제레스 레바 뭘 레바 지요라 우 시대주들이
Mm.
레바데
Mm.
아마라 디제
Mm.
아메 신다도서는 고란도 곱시자 도스체브리에스
Yes.
멜로디스습니다.
Yes. So the ladies, the reddish one, the bluish one, and then the mother riding the wooden box is going, and then there's quite some kilometers they go with this wooden box to arrive in a cemetery. So when they arrive in the cemetery, what happens is that at that cemetery, there are a lot other female spirit circling in the cemetery. And because the mother being like a figure, a leader within the female spirit, the mother sit in the middle of the circle on top of the wooden box. So the wooden box become like a seat, and then the mother sit on top of it, circled by the other female. And then they are about to having a feast, like a party, a feast. So they are about to enjoy the food. What is the food? So there are another two female who is bringing what is happened to be a dead body of a young boy. So it's a dead body, already died, the dead body. And the mother, being the leader of the female spirit, she got to enjoy the first. What is being enjoyed the first, being offered by the two female to the mother. The bodies of the young boy is being cut, and from the head of the body is being cut, and from the head is open because the mother will enjoy what is the brain of the child. So the brain of the child along with the head is being offered to the mother sitting in the middle of the circle. And for the rest of the other females, there is still the body of the dead boy, and to be distributed among the other female spirit.
그래서 아깝게 뒤자마다 아마다 레버디 사고로 와. 레버디 사야라스 아 센도 부구두스로 포마데. 제가 아마 뭐라는 포마데 남라 레샤스. 제가 뭐를 부구두스 뒤자마 안에 대나로네다 보면 뭐여러 데미지게 아마랑 게 차림디 장쇼스. 라보린 거디 장쇼스 디제네. 아마 그네 나니 윤데 킬로미터 마블레 사리로 라고지 장디 비기 나라 포마데 수일레네 안에 레바디 유제 안에 사리스.
So the mother is about to enjoy the feast in the form of a brain, and in order to enjoy the brain, the mother said that he will need a spoon. She suddenly remembered that he needs a spoon, and the spoon is being left back at home. So the mother said, I need spoon to eat this. So he thinks about the spoon, and then one of the females among the circle of the females say, if you need the spoon, you just take it at your home. You take it because you just take it with your hand. So the mother, hearing this, she actually lengthened the hand. The mother lengthened the hand. If you remember, the mother is riding the wooden box many kilometers. So that kilometers, the mother can lengthen the hand back to her house to take the spoon that she left and take it back into the cemetery. And with this spoon, she's about to enjoy the brain.
아니 주도가 사마 부부들이다 감나물 주대도 감대도 이거여로. 다 부부들이 사마 통대요. 그래서 கொஞ்சம் 가르치고 있는 가르치고 있는 사마 통대요. 그래서
So while this is all happening, so remember the boy is still inside the wooden box, and the wooden box happened to have a hole when you can pick outside. So everything that is happening in the cemetery, this can be seen by the boy who is hiding inside the wooden box.
다들 먼저 갈아둬서 사마 디자인에다 계지던 것이 다 쇼웨이 교재를 조정하고 남을 안 보여로 왔다. 그럼 이 주로지들 하는 수수수수로 하는 아마디아다 바라다가나 아멘나라 바로 what is this?
So while they are enjoying the feast, the night time around 1 or 2 is about to come daylight when the sun is about to rise. So during near the time that the sun to be about rise to be the sky is clear, then it's about time for them to go back. So each of the female spirit go back to their own place, including the mother. The mother went home.
바나나 데지사마다 아마 건단이 구야 라요마로 아마 다가라마 니에다 마니에다 부부디 니에샤 삼제로 부부디 모네 되려마 아니 부부디 가래 감네 감나버네 야 된제 나 담배니 세대라 다가라 니에데 그래서
So the mother went home. After went home, the mother fall asleep because she hasn't got any sleep during the whole night. So she went home and fall asleep and take a sleep. And what happens to the boy? The boy inside the wooden box, he came up of the box and crawl into the bed as if he was sleeping, because before he was putting the pillow and the blanket, and he returned to the bed as if he was sleeping all night.
와 둘째네다 뒤지오도 거도와 뒤지오도 거리 이나 부부들이 대고 때 아마네 켜는 라베요.
So some time has passed away since the event, and during that time, the boy hasn't said anything to the mother.
이마지게다 아마다 부부 대세들 강바디 터진 이도래도 아니 부부디 강바 와는 이거지 아마 강바 가나 이거지. 근데 이마지게 아메데 다나 때 이제 주요 다가 심직사리 다가 아메데 그지야 심충주직사리 이 강바 와라 사비자도 부부 와라 여러 아니 부부들은 부에 심디야 최소스 라도와 이 라비용 대자 부부들이 아무랑이 차린데 장쇼세 딜 라브리스.
Yes. So happens that one day the mother is working. The mother is working. They live in a 2-story house. There are 2 levels, down level and upper level. The mother is working on wool knitting using a tool which is made from wood. So while knitting, the tool that is being used by the mother fall down from 2nd story to the 1st story, 1st level of the house. So when the tool made from wood fall down, the mother saw the boy, which happens to be on the 1st level, and the mother said to the boy, "Hey, my boy, my son, please take for me the tool. The tool, please return to me because it has fallen down."
이제 안에서마다 미니즈디 상호 부부들이 하고 있어. 부부들이 하고 있나다 미션다 하고 그래서 아마 공부사는 하나 아마 담을 감배 가나 여러 다 감배 가나 와라 마용지 부부들이 골라 뚝뚝지다래서 부부들이 담배다 부부들이 다 리디 키 리디 교리에서.
So when the mother asked the son to bring the tools back to the 2nd story, at that time, what did the boy say? The boy being a boy, he doesn't realize much, he doesn't know much. The boy being the boy, he replied to the mother, "Just use your hand to pick up the tools." So the mother, when he heard about this, he's a bit surprised. So he's a bit surprised why the boy said something like that. And then she thinks to herself, "Oh, so the son happens to know something." And when he thinks further and further, then she realized, the mother realized that the boy knows things about her. And then what happens is that the mother goes down from the 2nd story down to the 1st level, and then he takes the son and put the hands on the head. And then he shake the head of the son. And what happens next is that by shaking the heads of the son, which is a human being, the body turns into a dog.
이치를 말고.
Do you believe this story? Perhaps you're not believing anything from this story.
키를 교류와. 키를 교류자가 다 류디 키를 교류에 돼 쌤디 당랑 미라리다. 미랑의 삼대대로 다 셈버 쉬고지 교제다 간다 류디 키비 교부리 아메 답베자게요 말 다 보나랑 시게야게 보나보나면 다 마디지야 삼르디 코제 다 추체모지 라마다 바 교도고
So when the child has turned into a dog, the body, but the mind still a human being's mind, but the body has turned into a dog. And then the child is very sad because a human being turned the body into a dog. Is very sad. And then he's very sad because the mother did that to the child. And then during this sadness, disappointing and sadness, and then this dog walked his way to a big river because he's about to kill himself.
갑디 되잖아 고란 류브디 키 류브레데 셈바데다 미 셈바다가란 상가단다 상마데 류사바 미기 깨지 가르셔비는 상마 때나 하고 그 고란 발 납신게 말마다 두 하고야 돼 상마 골로고요.
Yes. So it happens while he walking there to jump into the big river. However, at that time, even though the body is a dog, but the mind still is a human mind. So at the river, near the river, when people can say things, engage in conversation, this dog can hear perfectly. Because only the body is a dog, but the mind is a human, he can hear what is being said by other person.
다 된대인 바선자다 고란 추체무지 남라다 란시자 한도 되잖아 추디 남라 말레저다 미망고지 깨지셔야 그래서 총거든 미 총자는 총거든요.
Yes.
현재 깨지 가르셔버려서나 다 위초래야 다 위상스 라다는 펜보셔야 돼. 펜보셔야 되다다 동대만 통지여라 펜보.
Yes.
어때래야 안에 까담베 계시 랑루만 쓰여서 그래서
Yes.
다디 하장기 캐고친도 안에 배지 뻑뻑 토불 내주고 다 배지 라마사 친구 쉬고지 그래. 어디 건재 깨지는 시에도
Yes.
아니 어디 건재 총자가 어디서 안에 라마디 제기 이세 그런 건재 깨지는 시에서
Yes.
이 시에도 좀 키디 하고 그래다. 깨지는 시에요. 다 기시 라마사 친구 들으지 여기나 다 키디기 섬려나. 라마사 친구다 다 냠는 거 들으지 여기나.
Yes.
네 류디 키 류디 바 미류를 교투에 미보다 똑같이 원래 그런 탑시디 유지를 삼공 키디디 전에 아니 인지미지 아니 라마디 제투비나 야부두 삼삼을 놓고리스.
So when the dog is walking towards the big river about to kill himself, then happens at the river, near the river, there is a group of merchant, businessmen, a merchant is gathering around the river. And because there are many people among the merchant, they are talking within themselves, they engage in conversation. What is being discussed among the merchants near the river is that they are discussing about a certain great figure, a great practitioners at the place called Umchang in Tibet, because they are Amdo, they say in the Uchang, there is a place called Penpo. And this location called Penpo, based on the biography, is the birthplace of Dromtomba. So in Penpo, there is one particular practitioner which is called Geshe Langring Tamba. He is a very great practitioner who has achieved a high realization, and this Geshe Langring Tamba is being discussed within the conversation by the merchant at the side of the big river. So whatever being discussed by the merchant, the dog happened to kill himself in the river, can hear about this conversation. He understands what is being discussed, and then the dog thinks to himself, if there is such a great Lama with high realization, perhaps this person can help me to turn my body into a human body. So this dog can think by himself, and by hearing this conversation, he decided he need to see this great Lama.
도전에다 기디다 총보도 진양보다 탐내이다. 탐내야 아니 위초라야다 니마만 못 돌아와. 다야 돌아 위초라 돌네. 다 펜보 단다데 예실랑르만 슈시데 레로 제대자마다 아니 되게 예랑르미 켜버리스. 기디 유고여가 되 계실랑르미 켜니. 다 계실랑르미 고란라다 기루지어로
Mm.
기루데라 계란다 데리 인지 미제 또르마직 샹추스 다 또르마디 샹
Mm.
다 산이 루그직 레비스
Yes.
루그스나 까무로
Yes.
까무직 레비스
Mm.
안 어떠제네 다 기루디기 안에 또르마디 샹다 산이데라 다 산이데 고다다 베제르 사도 루요리다 니마디 라라 루거로 다 데르질레야다 안에 계시 랑르네 기루데레야 계란 칠로를 로제 술 레기도 봐. 술 용구도 봐. 계란 딱 좋았어. 뭐 대충 말이에요.
So the dog happened to understand and decide that he need to see the Great Lama. So the dogs follow the merchants who is heading towards the Wuzang from the place which is Kham. So from Kham, it's not Amdo, it's Kham, heading to Wuzang. And then from there, before they are about to come, what happens is that Geshe Langrin Thampa at his own place, because he's a high practitioner, high realization, he knows before that. So he knows that there will be a person, a guest who is coming. And the fact that he knows that one guest is about to come, Geshe Langrin Thampa say this to his assistant by saying that tomorrow someone will be coming, please prepare a torma. So by saying this, then the student, the assistant of Geshe Langrin Thampa, did what just the master say. He prepared a torma, and the next day, around the time when the sun about to set, then Geshe Langrin Thampa asked the assistant, "Who is coming? Do you know who is coming? Please check outside. Can you see any guest who is coming?"
기루디게 맞다 용대자마다 철로를 미지 용거야 말. 이나야다 키지기다 배 조고용에다 거라. शेवटी क्यों नहीं हुए और ऐसे था जैसे लंगर में शुसिदी जैसे थांगरे जिले तो पाटन
Yes.
और दिल्ली चला था थाले तो क्यों ही हुआ था किधर जैसे लंगर में शुसिदी कवाई में हाबो हुआ नहीं किसी शेवटी करा कोरा
Yes.
ता किरुदी के दा मिनी युग में तो किधर लेजे युग तो से था या अने जैसे लंगर में कसा लंगर में शुद्ध हुआ अने मिनी युग में तो ये ना किधर लेजे युग तो से या शुद्ध हुआ वादा ताता जैसे था ये छोटे के चुके शोस
Yes.
네, 갑자기 뒤자마다 키디 타는 것이 뭐지 여러데 이나야 계시랑루마 때서 공부 되고 있어요.
Yes.
제자 때에서 최고다 대바라 뒤지 때서 보고 있어요. 나 최고에 줄래 아니 랑루마데 최고 최로 안다 제가 돌마데 수치시. 나 돌마데 되네. 나 계시랑루마다 디 기루니 버디 냠도 두반에 강배나마 된제 실로데 키디 다란 디 딘레. 닌들레들다 또르마데 기간을 두지 유그레스 유리 키디 다가라 미다가란 교를 약간다
Yes.
류디
Yes. So when the Geshe Langrin Thampa asked the assistant, "Who is coming? Can you see?" Then when the assistant going outside to check, he cannot see any human being. But then there is one dog who is coming, who is approaching. So the place that Geshe Langrin Thampa is staying is like a mountain, but then within the mountain there is a huge field, like a wide field. Then from that wide field, someone who is approaching from the far can be seen from the place. So then the assistant looking outside, he said there is no human coming, but perhaps he saw it in the far away. He saw that there is one dog is coming. So hearing the assistant, then Geshe Langrin Ma said that yes, this is correct. The one person is coming. Then he said that please take my rope. The Geshe is asking the assistant, please take my rope, and then please take the torma. So the distance between the dog and then the distance between the Geshe to go outside. So the Geshe is quite old at that time. So he moved slowly. He asked the assistant to take the rope. He asked the assistant to take the torma. With the distance traveled by the dog to the place, to the point of meeting, is the same. They come to the point of meeting at exactly the same time. The dog is coming, approaching quickly, and then the Geshe and the assistant going out with the ropes and the torma. And by that the meeting point, what happens is that the Geshe is taking the torma and put it on top of the head of the dog. And then that time the body changes.
이식 말이.
Do you find the story hard to believe?
뭐다 비그래. 간다를 루지도 내요라. 아니, 다들 그 모네다니 고란 류버디 키 류버디 미 류버디 교대자 가세게 가게래다. 쇼지 가게로. 아니, 가에가 아니 배 이제 랑루 말이. 하장이 되고 첨부 계제. 아니 다 디기 루제제다. 유주리 뭐 휴도 같다. 이제 랑루 마다님도 어두세요.
So the fact that the body of the dog changed back into human body, imagine how happy this person, the boy, changing back to the human body is very happy at that time. And due to that, he generated a very strong faith to the Geshe, and he spent a lot of time under the guidance of the Geshe.
나중에 둘째 뒤조도 로디자마 다 간다 백희디 이제는 가서 그래다 간다 어디 거랑 아마디 미게 카메라 열어 다 카메라 유디자마다 아메 하고 그래다 부구디 이게 대신랑 놓으면 담로 이거데 아메 하고도 와 제자다 부구디 매번 마셔도 연나다 부구디 메니지 참아 가사칼라 시에네 안에 제가 야구 연구 말해서 아메 디삼도 와 다 디삼네냐 아메다가나 감충주지나로 감충주나라야 다베지 거랑 세 소리 똑똑똑 되는 다베 구소리다 내가 맹아를 되잖아 안에 카메라 다 총고만 보도가로 다도 소리야 아니 이 부부다다 되게 실랑로면 담라 요래 그 안에 베지 로종 지다 지심을 그래서 제가 내 단답아서 부부래야 가고지 째야 주마서 멤버들이 가이 주마서 나 아마레스 미나야 가이 주마서 제가 내디 안에 부부들라 개를 지세다 송거질래야 꾸리스 감충주질래 요 말이 다 송거들이 계제다 송거들이 거랑 성자거나 자 디제 이제 나로만 제사비 제래야다 감디 부부들 때도 계랑에 안에 디제 시리두스 감디 송거들이 계제 하장에 양을 해서 이나야 부부들이 라발레데 빼면서 지고지 뭐 차리스
So what happens to the mother? So the mother, hearing the son already returned from the body, from the dog become a human, he knows that and this human stay at the feet of the guidance of the Geshe. Then the mother heard about this news. So when the mother heard the news that the son still alive, he thinks that it's very, very dangerous for the mother because the son already knows everything about the situation of the mother. So the mother thinks that he needs to make the boy disappear. So the mothers think how to do it. So the mothers knows that there are merchants going to the place of the Geshe, and then the mothers is preparing a box, a small box. Inside the box there are substances. There are 9 substances, and this 9 substances is putting a spell. So they know, and then this box he gave it to the merchant and say that my boy has been studying with the Geshe, but me as the mother, I haven't been able to give anything to my son. So please take this with you and give it to my son. And then the box is a small box. So the merchant, when going to the place of the Geshe, carry the box for the mother. And then at the time when the merchant carrying the box, it's a small box and it's very light. And then the short story, the merchant handed it to the boy and said, "This is from your mother." When they hand it down to the boy, the wooden box become very heavy.
이 인도사바 디메라 이 기실랑루면데라 소요를 여기 루스그로 다다 키 루디 미 루파규야 그래야다 안에 계란다 다다 어제 친구 집이 요에서 안에 계란 내가 지중 가르쳐리는 이나 지중 가르쳐리는 말에 인지미 지키지 뒤야스 ngala keje ma de je le ken sa ni na ma ji a se wo de sung do de ne le de ju sung yo je za kora ta kam de su se la ba le in de za ma kam de ha ja ni ji go chen bu ta de na la ka re ji yo na san kora de je do de de za ma da ka che la de me ma de je lang ru me de sung je de sang sa ka de chen do 아니 계절랑도만 야 쉬도와 아니 아메 감지 구샤이 아니 지원지 무시어도 가리면 하고 마서 같이 그래 지고 말해서 감이 쉬도와 아니 같이 그래서 내가 미쳐베도 좋게시오 아니 계절랑이 미쳐베디 아니 기도되게 거야와 아니 같이 그래서 같이 대장바다 배제 디나노기 세르소리 부여로 이 상은 봉낭신 본 아니 예용이 잘라다 도저 상마다 매버스 아니 고라면 최고지 건데라 최고 될래가 샤스 배나 말아도 미냐다 그러 모든 여기 뒤리 전에 속고들스 들리제도 아니 대제래야 아니 기시 라우메 와다이나 제가 가미선다 제가 세번 헬리치스 빠제 상만 더 그래 빠제 자원님이 연구 말했어 어디 숨으랬어
So by the time that the box become heavy in the hand of the son of the boy, before this there is a certain period because the son has been under the guidance of the geshe. The geshe said to the boy, to the son, that you still have one big obstacles, and due to this one big obstacles, I would like you anything that you would like to do, be it a big things or small things, however big or small, you please ask me first. Because you still have one obstacles. And this is what is being said by the geshe to the son. And by the time he hold the box in the hand, he remember what is said by the geshe to him. Anything big or small, please ask the geshe first. And this is exactly the time he's holding the box. And then he decided, he remembered that at that time, and then he decided to ask the geshe, I have something in my hand given by my mother. It's very heavy. I don't know what is inside the box. Should I open it or not? And then the geshe knows precisely what is happening. Then the geshe instructed, yes, you can open the box, but first take my robes and put it on yourself. So the son take the robes of the geshe, which is a teacher, and put on the robes, and they opened the box. He opened the box. What happens is that the substance, the 9 substance which is being cast a spell, exploded just like a bomb. It's exploded and it destroyed everything nearby. And on top of the robe, which is worn by the son, is the grease, like a grease, only a grease, like a dirty things, grease falling down on the robes. Other than that, nothing harm is happening to the son. And then after that happening, then the geshe said, okay, now everything is okay now. Your obstacle has been overcome, is finished. Now you can relax. Your obstacle has gone.
That 이제 나오면 다이나 다는 소처럼 내가 가르치는 말을 지키고 말이스 수술되기 수술되는 디그리스 뭐 직체 아니 되네서다 계시나면 왕다 제나라 소바다 숨주마고 다 어디 어디나리다 나네 원로면아 망고나니 다 되네 다다 키리드 미리 주기지로 어디 가담에 계시 잡이 와서야 돼 어디 차버리세요.
So the geshe said that now you do not need to consult me anymore about anything that you would like to do, anything that is big or small that you would like to do, you can do it. You do not need to ask me. You can decide by yourself. This is the first thing that is explained by the geshe to the son. And then after that, since then, the geshe confer a lot of initiation and permission, and also a lot of teachings to the son. And then he received a lot of instructions. And since then, this boy who turned to a dog and then later returned again as a human becomes a very well-known Kadampa geshe known as Geshe Chakriwa.
제가 갑디디기 다 최고지요. 다들 기실랑이면 최고지. 최고지 다달랑이 공부를 제일 수도.
Yes. As for the robe by Geshe Langlingma, the one that is used to cover the sun, is very well known. And if you visit the site of the Geshe Langring Tamba in the monastery or the site, they said that the robe is still there, it still exists now.
제가 최고의 루주시에 들어와. 최고의 간레스 중거리 간레스 리제다 단데 시대 교육을 단데 연락이.
Yes. So this is the story of the robe. So how the robe coming is, this is one of the story, the history behind it.
제가 셀로마스에 되는 것을 오늘 말하자 단다 가시 보모 가시 대 나보여 주지요. 이거라. 나보여 주지. 이거라. 나보여 주는 그래서 라면 되게나면 하고 뭐서 다 간다. 셀로마스에 지요. 셀로마스에 어디 과다 님이 몰라 지고 지냐려 맞아 미라리. 과다 거라도냐 에너지 차요. 약간데. 업데이트하고.
So the evil spirit that is in the form of the mother. So usually, yeah, there exist beings like that. In the tradition, it said that if there is a female in the face, on the cheek, there is like a black part or black spot. It could be a sign of an evil spirit. Because on the normal daily life, it looks like a regular human being, a regular female, but there could be signs that indicate that the female is an evil spirit.
대입으로 뒤에 배당 이거 히마잘도 나야도 군노단도 설라 이제 어디 잡아들 용도 그거죠. 디발에 계시는 민들아.
Yes. So a story like this, whether you believe it or not, or maybe it is happening or not, but in Tibet and in the Himachal area, in the Kuno area, this is something that is very well known.
대나로네다 말아서 캔거야 개체부터 가르쳐 주잖아. 개체잡이 와서야 돼. 가르쳐 주면다 어디를 준거다. 하나 개체랑로마디 원에 똑똑보다 가르쳐 메디다 델라딘이 캔토야 지요리스. 델라도도 데려와.
Yes. So what we could summarize, what is the lesson here from the story? The most important lesson, of course, about the Geshe Chakriwa, High Geshe, Kadampa Geshe, Geshe Chakriwa. This is one. Another lesson that is important is about the Geshe Langring Ma, a very high practitioner from the Kadampa tradition. Of course, this is the main moral story.
아, 주실 이제 이제 뒤에 뒤와주면 이제.
Yes. So now we will stop the explanation up to this point, and we will continue directly into the question and answer.
다들 동지 시에서 이제 대보라 열다.
Yes.
내 쇠석이 말이.
Yes.
요래.
Yes.
요래.
Yeah. As for the story that just being said now, please be assured it's not a fiction or a make-up story. It is in the text. It is in the book. It is not something made up. It is there is a reference. There is a book about it, a text about it. Diwani padi kenla gom kapla perna michikroa ta koran cawe lama nyire tene kom kapla dun la samlo tangdu ta cawe lama nyi nang ne chikpare kya sempore chikpa chikyang re ta gom tang dun la samlo tangdu dikandere karesna minyi yore lama nyi yore.
이 지난 지구지간에 남기 있다가라 그래도 이 가르스 상담을 했으면서 뭐 어디 사회랑만이나 수면이나 디제 나바데 산제 좀내대다고 두제 상고로 지난 두스로 다 뒤인데 맞아 두 상담을 나도 공공들데 답질라 산제 좀 내대게 나바수 샤르는 것으로 야 라마니나 다 라마 당고데스 샤르는 것으로 야 라마니버데 샤르는 것으로 와도 상담해 rồi
Yes.
cái nó có như sao làm mà nhiều vậy nè sao làm mà nhiều là yang chi ở mà sao làm mà tạm cái nhiều với nhiều rồi ta cả lúc hôm nay chỉ rồi ta chỉ có cha用这咱们俺这三路搞当个是呢这个工作嘛对不对thế thì ta làm mà tạm cái gì cũng nhá thì nằm vào thì chủ chế nhá nhị vào thì hin sao sao nhá nhị vào thì chủ chế nhá sang cái trong đây thì ta cái cha xuống xong rồi tôi sẽ có cái thì chỉ thì làm mà nhị một cái gì này cảm nhận mà thì cũng hiểu
Yes. So the question is, during meditation, how does one visualize if we have two root gurus in front of us, where both are equally important? And for this, the explanation is as follows. This is the same that we have just elaborated before, because the nature could be like 2, 3, etc., but the appearance is the same, is the Buddha. So the guru taking the appearance of a Buddha, then the Buddha, the nature is the two root gurus. So for one person has two root gurus, the root gurus, the two of them being the same importance, equally importance. So it takes, firstly, we can think of them in the appearance of the Buddha. Then we think of them, this Buddha is actually my Lama, because there are two. Then you imagine the first one. So this Buddha is my Lama, the first one. And then since you have two, which is equally important, after you think about this first Lama, then you can also think, okay, this is the Buddha, and this is the nature is the Lama, the second Lama. Because in fact, between the first Lama and the second Lama, is there any difference? No. They are the same. They are the spiritual master between the second and the first and the second. Between the two lamas and the Buddha, is there any difference? No, they are the same. It's only the difference because you differentiate because I have two lamas, they are two equally important, but in fact the two of them are the same. And then between the two and the Buddha is also the same. So it doesn't really matter how many numbers, so long you understand the nature being the same.
지단들이라 사회라마 니 여기는 니디 사회라마 개발해요 말 니가 사회라마리로 니나야냐 수수냐 이지다 대바냐 휴치줄 텐데 용식이리 니가 사회라마 이메이네로 되게 용식이로 다들 용메이나 대바 채와대 가제이면은 가리면은 어디 휴치와 공 현아디 안에 대 모아디 디임발라 남바디 디 휴치와 때리는 안에 대바 시라마 기긴지 여러 됐어 대바 총하지 여러 어디 갈래갈래 저 지부지냥 차야게 되려와 요리서
So when someone say he has two root lama of the same importance, actually between the first and the second there is no difference. They are the same. But then, of course, because there are two, perhaps the practitioners can feel for the first one, perhaps this is just an example. For the first one, he feels bigger faith, greater faith. As for the second one, is slightly lower. So the first one is greater, and compared to the second, slightly lesser or lower. This is something that could happen because we're still in the place of comparison. The one is a greater faith and the lower faith. But how to do about it is the same that being explained before. The Buddhas we imagine, and then the nature is the Lama that we have the greater faith first, because it's more appealing because we have greater faith to the first Lama. After we can feel this about this, then gradually we can change and try to adopt the second Lama. So the second Lama taking the place of the first Lama, but the first one, we do imagine the nature of the first Lama, because to us the faith is greater. After that, we can switch subsequent with the second Lama in order to generate the same level of faith. Anyhow, they are the same, so we are trying to increase the faith of the second Lama by using the help of the first Lama, and then we imagine that taking the nature of the second Lama, which is the Buddha. Yang gartire pernah cawe lama ni yores tene komtang tu ciwor kang la samlo tang yora ciwor kang la samlo tang tu kom tu tikaden kandere karesana ni yores cawe lama ni tene ciwor kang la from
이
do.
따가는 거. 이 지구 지야는 말하자 삼도 당당 디모네 제르마다. 아 지구가는 곰데니 얘네 거기 지구 이삼도 그러. 라마 니버세네 당부세네 니버디 이삼도 그러. 거기 왜 지구 따로.
Yes.
왜나 말하자 자이 라마다 산제 좀 내데 지구전에 구매하지 여러. 그러. 산제 좀 내데 세나야 콩이 말하자 자이 라마 세나야 디 거기 지구 지야 이삼도 삼도 디당고. 지구지. 왜나 말하자 추다 오면 되버나시.
Yes.
추당 오마데데 추디레 오마디레 세마도 개바 체투미도
Yes.
이나시 사울라마니 예가나 당고데다니 당고세나야 니바디레 니부세나야 당고데레 당고다 니바니 베 추다 오마데바나 히삼다니
Yes. So
내가 지워디마이
yeah, so the question during our study session on any of the Lamrim topics, how does one invite the guru on our head if one has two root lamas equally as important? So this question is basically the same as the previous one, just we have just seen. For this, actually, if you want to break it down more specifically, if you say the first root lama, then there is the second lama, the two of them are the same. The first, in fact, is the second. The first lama is in fact the second. If the second lama, in fact, is the same as the first one is the second is the same. The second one is referring to the first. The two of them are the same in terms of the nature. This is exactly related when we say that we meditate the guru as the Buddha. The guru is the Buddha is the guru. The first is the second is the first one, is the same. For this, perhaps the analogy is between water and milk mixed together. When water and milk mixed together, you cannot tell which is the water and which is the milk. So for this, the nature between the first and the second, when you say the first is in fact the second. When you say referring to the second is in fact referring to the first. The two of them are the same.
다디나 올라야 게쳐지 가려를 수도 담아 다마라제 라마 사회 라마 이나다 간다 라마도 수수문에다 산제무기도 시샤고요 산제무이 사마트무요 이나야 뭐네 산제무이 이마다만 이마니가 요청으로 수수지오들이 요청으로냐 파고들이 요청으로 당원에 수수 삼반하시다라 하는 산제랑 이마들이 요래로 다 기시 수수 라마디 사회 라마이나다 간다 이 수수 산제무기 두시 샤비나야 뭐네데 산제무 많이 봐 수수 지오지 이마이나 마라도 산제무기 두시 샤발라 때네 마라도 진납데 가르 주고르스나 산제무기 진납데 주고요 그러나 뭐네데 산제무 말이로 이나야 마라도 산제무기 두시 샤베 교진라 때네 마라도라야 캡사데 산제무기 아니 두시 샤베 진납데 주고르스 소디리
So regarding this discussion and how to imagine or visualize, there is one important thing that you must not forget, because the most important thing is when we have to think, the guru is the nature of the Buddha himself. As for the guru being the nature of the Buddha himself, there are two possibilities. Either the guru is indeed the real Buddha himself, or the guru is not the Buddha. It can be something else, a being, high practitioner, etc., but not the Buddha. So there are indeed, yes, there are two possibilities. But it all comes down to how we think, how we regard or how we see things, consider things. If from our own side, we can consider the guru as the Buddha himself, even though the guru is not the Buddha, but the explanation says that as long as we can see the guru as the Buddha himself, then the blessing that we will receive is the blessing from the Buddha.
이 가르에 쓰자마 말하자 라마데 수수교육이면야 산영문이 두시잖아. 대신에 줘야돼 지금의 수수 이직이 되버리. 니네 될어야 산제 탐지기 답에지 진랍데 먼저 라마데 슈데요. 라마 거라 산제 마냥이나 산제기 진랍 상마데 슈데요. 지다. 어디래?
So the reason is because even though there are two possibilities, the guru being a practitioner, a human being, or just or the Buddha himself, So long as we can consider him to be the Buddha himself, we will receive the blessing of the Buddha. This in turn depends on several aspects. The first one, of course, depends on faith. Depending on faith on the side of the practitioner or the disciple. And then the second one, because the blessings of the Buddha can enter us through the Guru. So even though the Guru himself is not the Buddha, but the blessing of all the Buddha, we can receive through the medium, so-called medium, from the Guru. So even though the Guru not the Buddha himself, but we will receive the blessing of the Buddha, so long we can see the Guru as the real Buddha. Lalu Chadu, Lama dan Loma Chadu. Sunsu Shuyo Maris, Ina yang Chaser Yoris, Katapu yang Yoris, de kapla Loma di, yang jarti kurang di semla di Lama tenyagi toba di inji minji gobes.
Jadi kau orang,
Dus.
jadi kau orang karena lama tenyagi dewa ini korang lama tengok orang, dewa mana lama tengok mana ya?
Yeah, yes. So the question in the situation where a disciple establishes a master-disciple relationship without receiving teaching, but by offering a kata and prostrating, does the disciple also need to then generate the wish to be the disciple of the master? The answer is simple, yes. Still, the disciple need to generate the wish he wanted to become the disciple.
Yang kita dulu yang coba. Ya, jadi rumahnya dia lama isam meriana ya, lama mana dia lama isam jenak ya cabai jenak.
Yes.
Iya, benar. Benar, lama mana dia kidu isam besam lo meriana ya, kidu dia mana kong lama isam jenak lama dah lama dia cabai. Jenak sih tu nere. Benar kidu cunjung je ya, buku cunjung je ya. Buku cunjung dia kaya lama isam besam lo dia jangan yo marilah. Nina kigen mana di kidu sampai sampai di jadi kigen kidu kita lama lama dah ada cara.
So the yang jar sungguh penlah embody this truth yang.
Beri cacam nado lama dah lama dah asal jadi ro. Lama mana lama sampai sampai mebe ina ya lama di kong lama sampai jadi ina lama dah lama dah caya cicik dia. Ni lama mana ro. Lama mana dah lama mana kong lama sampai sampai di mebe ina lama mana kong lama sampai sampai di yubi ina dah cara beres.
Di buku sungsu.
Buku pena buku cunjung dari sana ini ro.
So while discussing about the wish from the side of the disciple have the wish to establish a relationship that is needed. Then for this, we can further take in several examples, context or situation. It can happen that the guru does not think it to be his disciple, but from the side of the disciple, he thinks it as his guru, then it's already established. So from the side of the guru, he doesn't in particular think that, oh, you are my disciple, but from the disciple thinks that this is his guru, can be established. On the other hand, from the side of the guru, the disciple doesn't necessarily think that this is the guru, but the guru thinks that this one is my disciple. This already established also. For this, from the guru side, is the example when there is a disciple which is young monks or young people, children. From the side of the children, he may not think that the guru is his guru, but the guru being an adult, he thinks that this is my disciple, then it can establish a guru-disciple relationship.
Diwa dua.
Diwa cik.
Itu tujuh tu dia. Tujuh, tujuh kajar ada cakap kajar.
Nah, cakap apa?
Diwa tunggu ini cipta, ini mana siapa ni?
Yes. Karena you nyampa chiguna ken di tell yo maris. Ta you nyampa di ken tem mena you nyampa di takarang suk chechung di takarang re mena tell me bagi insang you di suk cheru doya di yores bes.
요리. 다디 데레와 마라제 두가레 이거 간데지 사비나야 마라제 샤톰 지구리 해서로 샤톰 마제베 이나 가르치 그랬으나 페나 디리 이거 직사비나 페나 마라제다 자징 소리 중중직 세비나 다 디리 세비나 다 이거 직모도 요 말이로 디리 세비자 다 샤톰 마제베 산이 다 이거 니 차는 나니 될 시차는 와도제 제일 다다 안에 자진 세비 디고 중중지 뭐도 요만 제일 미세비 디고나시 디고 전부 줘야 요래서 그러.
Yes. So the question, what happens when causes of bad karma are committed and if the conditions for its ripening are not met? Will the bad karma increase if the conditions for its ripening are not met? So for this, the elaboration is as follows. So regarding non-virtue or bad karma, whatever non-virtue or bad karma that you have committed, we must apply the purification. And for this purification is very important. For example, today someone happened to kill a small insect like a small worm. So there are many types of worm and many sizes, say like a small worm. So today someone killed a small worm for today. And then what happens if this person does not apply purification method? The next day, tomorrow, it equals that he will be killing 2 worms. The next day, it equals to be killing 4 worms. And it will continue again and again. What is initially a small worms without purification, it equals to someone who kills a human being.
베테나시 말아서 개화직 사비나 대모와 제비나 들이 개화직이나 산인이 샤르 나니 시차는 그래도 지버렸군요.
And the same apply to the practice of the virtue, the good karma. If we apply the dedication, so the dedication for the merit that we accumulate today, tomorrow becomes 1. So 1 in the amount, tomorrow's become 2. The next day it becomes 4 and so forth. Yeah. So up to this time, because we are running out of time, it's past the time already. So we sum up and conclude by this point.
Sa shi perki jushi me to tram re rap ling shin ni de gen pa de sange shing tu mik de o wa ge roku nam dak shing la che pa sho idam guru ratna mandala kam nirya taya me. Dane ring du bele sok ne kata yang pagang shik sak pa de lo mik mare ge don ro wanam nam dran yawe wang po da gyu shik de ma son pe se rap kun tu yang jam pe yang ke se we je sung ne ten pe rim pa kun sang lam ge chok nye nye rupe gyal nam nye je shok rangi ji shin tok pe lam ge ne shuk drak se we drang pe tap ke ki Drowe yi ki mun pa sel jene, yelwe ten pa yun ring zin yurjik, ten pa rin chen chogi ma kya pa, yap kyang nyam pa gyu pe chok deni, nying je chen po yi rap ko pa yi, pende te de sel wa je pa shok, se che gyal we me jung trin le le, leg druk jang chuk lam ge rim pe kyang, ta de nam ke yi la pel te shing, gyal we ze pa ring du kyong kyu chik, lam zang drup pe tung kien drup je ching, gyal kien sel je mi dang mi min kun, se rap kun tu gyal we ngak pai, nam dak lam dang drel wa ma gyu chik, gang se tek pa chok la che chu, so shin drup la son pa de se, tu den nam ke tak tu dro che ching, tra shi gyat so chokun, kyab yu chi. I believe there are some participants who may not be joining us because they're flying overseas. You may come up to offer a kata and perhaps get a blessed string from Gishla if you wish. There are some katas on the table.
Even appreciate. Yeah. Yeah. See you soon. Sampai jumpa lagi. Saya bayang nanti saya berdua untuk kamu. Jadi kamu. And yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah. See you soon. Yeah.
Yes.
And, udah.
Dua orang saja.
Oh ya ya oke.